one of the more important things for me is that it helps create balance within emotional recovery. Having 3 boys is a lot of work, and they bring a lot to the table, kind of firing in all directions all the time. And when you add that in with work and trying to be a wife and a really good mother, they need to know that it's important to be physically fit, and I don't want them to ever feel limited by that. I also think it's important for people to understand, and it crosses over a little bit into my profession as well, that when you can do a lot more than you think you can do. So I think it helps build confidence. Obviously, when you feel stronger, you look better, you feel a lot better about your performance overall. So for me, it's a great balancer, and if I don't have it, then my family, mostly my husband, will probably tell you, he can tell it's about time for me to go back to the gym. So it's important for a lot of reasons, and it is important for me really to strike the balance and help emotionally, but also to be able to pass some of this information on to my patients and get accurate and good information out into the community. Because a lot of the information online and things that people read, the women as a whole are pretty hard on themselves. So I think being able to bring a little bit of balance to that for them is another thing that's important to me. So a typical day for me starts, I think a lot of people have alluded to this, you start the night before. And for Brian and I, we start the week before. We sit down and look at schedules and see who can work out at what time, what the kids are doing, making sure that we plan time. And sometimes things come up with the kids, they get sick or things like that, but or they have a lot of homework. But we try to make time every single day, but we start planning usually the day before. We'll get things ready so that if you have that 5:30 a.m. workout, your alarm's going off your alarm goes up at 4:45. Usually I get up around 5, but have something to eat, get in here and get the workout finished. And then once that's turned off, I go home and get 3 boys ready for school, which is, if I wouldn't have worked out, that might be a little harder. So they do a pretty good job, but it is very stressful. So you transition very quickly from exercise and getting some of that energy out into being a mom, which is the most important thing. But they also see, in my view, which is very important, a mom who can try to balance. I don't know if there is ever a way to really balance it, because being a mom is the most important thing, but they need to have a mom who they know is healthy, who they know can work out just as hard as most of the guys, and who can carry on a career. So I like the fact that they can see that. Then transitioning from getting them to school, kind of the craziness of the morning. Once they're out the door, then I go to work. I usually have an 8-hour day. It's usually pretty packed. Sometimes some days are easier than others. Sometimes there's a lot of emotion involved in the day, and you have to be able to turn one off and go to the other. When I get home, then you transition back into mom. So the whole time, though, you have to be able to focus in on what you're doing. So working out for me and exercise, physical activity, is one of the things that is helpful in keeping that balance. I try to make sure that we as a family do something pretty much every day. It's one of the things I've learned here, besides changing up some of my nutrition, is to make sure you move your body every day. And my kids now, when I get home, they want to challenge me on planking, and they want to do these things, which I think is great. So going from one to the other is very hard, but I think working out provides the balance for that. I try to impress some of that upon my patients. I try to impress some of that upon my kids. And my husband is extremely supportive and helps me get ready for the next day. So we try to balance it that way. I've learned a lot in the last I'd say really 6 months to a year about nutrition. For me, it used to be looking at the scale and worrying about the weight and those kind of things. And specifically after this year's challenge, I learned a lot more about how I was feeling surrounding food. We used the FitnessPal app, and I asked a lot of questions because I really wasn't feeling good. I was pulling workouts out, but I didn't feel good. I felt good afterward, but I didn't have very much energy going into it. So the FitnessPal app was very helpful. The trying to balance the protein and really look at getting more carbs, because you think you learn as a young girl, high protein, low carbs, work out as much as you can, and that really doesn't work when you start to get a little bit older. But I feel like the meal planning is huge for us, and I realize when we don't do it that it's much harder, and you feel like you're kind of running around and you don't feel as good. So the meal planning is huge. The help with the meal planning, with the support of my husband, is huge, and trying to dial in on what's good for me versus what the book says is good for me, and not worrying so much about what the scale says, is really what I have learned in the past year the most. And I'm starting to see the results of that, and one of the results I see is not just how I am able to see physical returns, but I feel better emotionally, and I feel happier, and even if I'm having a bad day and my nutrition's coming in here, it makes me feel good. So especially to start the day that way that's a really good thing for me. Just some closing thoughts, some of the things that I see in my daily life. One of the really important things that I see, and one of the things I remember very clearly, was the first time I got that kind of workout high and kind of got the bug that said, your body will do more than when your mind's telling you to stop. As long as you're not physically hurting yourself, your body will do more. And I talk to my patients daily, and there's a lot of self-esteem issues around it. I speak with a lot of women all the time, and there's hormone involvement and things that change surrounding that. But one of the things I tell them is, if you could do the video easily, the health workout video, or go to the gym and do any activity that they say with ease, you'd be teaching the class or doing the video. So I wish more people would. It's frustrating to me, but it's also a benefit that I get to work with people and tell them, you can do this. It takes a little more time. You have to sit down and let them know that you care about them, but you can do it. And as a mother, I mean, I worry probably more than most people, but I worry a lot about my children. I want them to be happy, and one of the ways that they can be happy is to be physically fit. They don't have to be a stud athlete. They can if they want, but if they want to be good at whatever, they have to know how to work out properly so that they can maintain a healthy lifestyle, because genetics in our family, not on their side. So it is something that they have to learn. If they want to be a rider, great, but you're going to be a rider that can do 50 push-ups. I don't know. Stuff like that is very important to me, and being a good role model for my children is absolutely the most important thing for me. But I just wish more people would get that sense that when they walk into a gym, it doesn't mean you have to be good at everything. Everybody started somewhere, and if you want it, you have to go get it. And I think our society thinks everything's going to happen right now, and it just takes time. But hopefully I can be inspiring not only to my patients and to people here, but also to my kids and to my family,